Assalamu alaikum, dear students. We start our second lecture of the first week. In this lecture, we will learn about six broader categories or property classification of materials. These are categories or classifications of materials which group almost all important properties of solid materials. As we will study during the course of lectures, any solid material will possess at least one or two of these properties at a level better than other material in comparison. This property classification actually is one of our next learning objective and is one of the most relevant and important element for selection of a material for a particular application. We will also learn and you guys will be able to recognize the important components that are involved in design, production and utilization of materials and how these components relate with each other. We will get an understanding how execution of one component leads to affect other. At the end of the lecture, we will talk about important points or factors that are needed or to say must be considered when we are faced with the task of material selection. An engineer will of course face some or sooner or later a situation in his or her professional career where it will be required to make selection of a material for an application or a product. So we will learn important material selection criteria that will guide and help us to make selection of material for our desired application or product. Moving on to the next. Here is an example that shows that how different property or utilization requirements help us to select a material for a different application. For example, here we say a metal, a metallic can, a ceramic glass can, and a polymeric or plastic bottle. Depending upon the situation, we select a material for its use. All these three containers actually contain the same liquid, so to speak, but why do we need three different containers? What are advantages of one over the other? I'm sure you can quickly realize that metallic and plastic containers are lighter, easy to handle and carry, and you do not worry if they drop on floor, of course when not at least open. On the other hand, the glass container is heavier than metallic container or plastic bottle, but you must have noticed that glass container is able to keep the fizz of your drink for longer times. So different structure gives a material different properties, and this property change allows for utilization of material or application of material as per the circumstances or the needs. Materials are actually all around us. They are here since early civilizations. Actually, progress in materials have made it possible for the present day developments. Progress and development in materials is so much prevalent and undeniable that today We name ancient civilizations as per reference to their progress or development in materials like Stone Age, Bronze Age, Iron Age. What is the age of today's civilization in reference to the materials? Do you have any guess? What, what would you like to say? Materials are naturally occurring materials, or we can develop materials today with the help of different techniques. We can design materials as per our needs. These materials are called advanced materials, and they are designed to meet certain advanced needs or advanced characteristics. Because we now know and understand the relationship between structure of materials and their properties, so we can tailor made material for a particular application. Material sciences and engineering is broadly categorized into two main categories. One is material science, the other is material engineering. Material science is actually investigation of structure property relations, and the one who studies structure property relations is called material scientist. Material engineering involves design or engineering of structure on the basis of this structure property relations, or designing of material to meet certain predetermined set of properties. Material engineer is supposed to do this. We have been talking about structure property relations that determine applications of materials. Let us now talk about what this structure is. Structure of material is the key to its properties. It is primarily the structure of the material that makes the material what it is. So, what actually the structure is? Structure, as we can infer to the general meaning of the term, refers to the arrangement of components or internal components that make up that particular material. When we talk about materials, materials are made up by one or more than one elemental component. So structure in the field of material science engineering will be the arrangement of internal components in respect to one another. The arrangement of atomic or subatomic components, while in case of a compound or molecule, will refer to arrangement of these molecular components. Atomic level structure will inform us how the atoms are arranged in respect to one another. So, subatomic structure refers to the internal arrangement of atoms, that is, arrangement of electrons around a nucleus and their mutual interaction. If we take further this atomic structure and arrangement of atoms or molecules in the form of groups, I mean when where larger number of quantity of atoms or molecules are arranged, the structure is referred to as microscopic. This structure is observable by use of some microscope. In the same way, we can take the size of the structure that is observable or could be viewed with the naked eye, and we call this structure a macroscopic structure. Next term that needs our attention and that has been continuously used along with structure is the term of property. Property is trait of a material to respond to a specific external action or stimulus. We select materials as per their property for a particular requirement or application. Property refers to the response of a material in a particular application or environment. All important properties of solid materials can be grouped into or have been grouped into six different categories. How the materials get these properties? It is actually the structure that gives the materials the properties they have, and this structure is obtained through processing. What process we perform to obtain that structure, and that structure then gives properties to the material. What is the process? Process is the procedure or method of development of a particular structure. Structure of a material largely depends on how it has been processed. Bringing all these informations together, we can say that we can develop a process or procedure to come up with a particular structure that possesses certain properties. This way, we are saying that we can process a structure of a material that shows a typical property. Another important component involved in design, production, and application of materials is the performance of a material under given circumstances. How material responds to a particular environment shows performance of the material. This performance of the material is again directly related to is the function of its property. These are the four components involved in the discipline of material science and engineering, and their interrelationship is shown in this figure 1.1. Particular processing results as a typical structure. This typical structure has certain properties, and these properties actually determine the performance of the material under given circumstances. Here is an example which shows us three different samples. You can see that the piece of the sample on your leftmost side is transparent. You can see through it, while in the middle one there's a not easily seeable, and the one on the very right of your side is totally opaque, what it is called. That is, you cannot see through it. This is actually one single material, that is aluminum oxide, but processing or difference in processing have given this one single material different structures, and that different structure has resulted in different properties. I would ask you to please read the example from the reading material and look for yourself the difference in characteristics because of difference in structure appearing because of different processing. Okay, at the end of the lecture, we talk about how to make selection of a material, the points that we need to take into account while making selection of a material for a particular application. First of all, concerns with in-service conditions, where you will be applying the material. Definitely, you will select a material when you have to apply it in an open atmosphere, and inside the home, selection of material will be different. How this material will deteriorate or with the passage of time, or when it is in use, how this material corresponds. And then the economics, that is the cost on its production and preparation. Maybe a material is good enough, but its production and preparation cost so much that you are forced to go for the second or third choice of the material. There is a case study about Liberty ship failures in your book, in your reading material. The example that we just talked about earlier about the aluminum oxide and this case study will both give you an idea how structure is related with properties, and properties give us different performances. Please read these two examples carefully, and we will meet in the next class. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.